Welcome back to the channel if you've been here before, and hello if you're new. A couple of weeks ago, I posted my Pikachu-inspired beret, and I'll turn around so you can see it. I hope that's in the frame. And I put that up on my social media accounts, and multiple people asked me if I would create the pattern for it. So today, that's what I intend to do. In this video, I'm going to show you how I created the basic pattern first, and then what I'm going to do is show you how to adjust it so you can create a beret using any yarn weight and hook size. When we've completed the body of our berets, we will then add some ribbing, and the ribbing is the black stuff here. And then after that, I'll go through some customization options so you can make your beret unique to you. That's it for the introduction. Let's get right to making our berets. Grab your hooks and let's get started. To make your own beret, you're going to need a few basic supplies: scissors, stitch markers, and a needle. Depending on how you want to customize your beret, you're going to need some additional supplies. These could include things like pins, stuffing, some felt, anything you would like to add to your beret. When it comes to the hook and the yarn, the hook size and yarn weight are going to depend on what you specifically want to use. If you would like to follow along with what I'm doing, I will be going over the yarn and hooks that I'll be using in detail in a moment, so you can just follow along with that if you like. Okay, before we start today, you're going to need to take one measurement, and that is your head circumference. What you're going to do is grab your tape measure and then wrap it around your head. You want to start at the most prominent part of your forehead, so where it sticks out the furthest. Wrap it around your skull so you pass over the most prominent part of your skull at the back of your head, and then just keep wrapping it around till you reach the starting point, and then take that measurement. For me, my head circumference is about 52 centimeters. So if your head size is the same or very similar to mine, you can just follow along with what I'm doing if you would like. But if yours is a bit different or you would like to do something different, you can just use your head circumference measurement. When it comes to the pattern today, what I'm going to be doing is something very similar but slightly different from what I usually do. So if you've seen any of my previous patterns, you'll know that I have a little graphic down the bottom where the pattern is displayed. I'm going to do that in this video. However, I've chosen to do two berets simultaneously here. So I'm going to have one using one yarn weight and hook size, and I'll go over those in a moment, and then a second in a different yarn weight and hook size. The first one that I'm going to be making, which I'll be making in white yarn, I will have the pattern displayed using my normal graphic. The second one, however, I'm going to be doing in this thicker red yarn. That pattern is going to play directly after the first pattern, and I'm going to try and make a separate graphic in a separate color so they're very distinct from each other. But if I don't have a chance to do that, I will just change the text color to red. So normally my text color is blue. For this second one, I will change it to red. And how this is going to work, I will start by doing, for example, round one of the first beret. The pattern for that will play. I will then straight away do round one for the second beret, and directly after that round one pattern has gone down the bottom, the round one pattern for the second beret will play. I hope that won't end up being too confusing, but it is something that I want to try because it might be useful at some point in the future, so we'll just see how we go. Now, to get into the yarn and the hook sizes, the white beret I'm going to make, I will be using this Spot Saver USA style from Spotlight. Now, the recommended hook size for this is 5mm, but frustratingly, it doesn't actually have a yarn weight or size on it. But given that the recommended hook size is 5mm, I'm guessing it's sort of a category 4 yarn, so like a worsted weight or an Aran weight yarn. That's my guess, and that's what we're going to be making the first beret out of, and I will be using a 5mm hook, which is the recommended hook size. The second yarn that I'm going to be using is this one. I think it's called Vera Moda Monkey. I don't think I've used this before, but I got it on special, so that's why I have it. So I'll be using that up today, and the recommended hook size is a 9mm. Actually, I have used this before. I used this for my yellow Pikachu beanie. And the reason I remember that is because the recommended hook size is 9mm, but I dropped it down to an 8 because I found that the spaces between my stitches, my double crochet that I'm going to be using, were just a little bit too wide for my taste. So I dropped it down to an 8mm to close those gaps up a little bit. So this yarn is, why don't they put the sizes on, or the yarn? Let's see. Am I just missing it? Yeah, I can't see a that. It bothers me when they don't put on the yarn weight or the yarn size or the category on the label. But anyway, the recommended hook size for this is a 9mm, but I'm dropping down to an 8. So that's what we're going with today. For each beret, you're going to need 2 stitch markers. You could get away with 1, but I like having 2 because that way I can mark the start of my round, but I also have a stitch marker handy to secure my end when I'm swapping over to do the next round of the next beret. We're going to be starting off with the white, which is the 5mm hook and the category 4 yarn. And the reason I'm doing these separately today is because I actually start off differently. For your beret, all we need to do to begin is make a circle. So we just keep increasing out until we have a nice round circle. But because these yarns are different weights, I find that starting off with a different number of stitches gives me a nicer finish with my circle. We're starting with a magic circle, and then we're going to put 12 double crochet in the magic circle. To do a double crochet, you're first going to yarn over, you're then going to go into your stitch, or your magic circle in this case, yarn over again, and then pull through. At this point, you should have 3 loops on your hook. 1, 2, and 3. You're going to yarn over again and pull through the first 2 loops. That was 1. Pull through the second one, and we're leaving the third. So at this point, you should have 2 loops on your hook. To finish off your double crochet, you're going to yarn over for a final time and pull through those remaining 2 loops. That was 1 double crochet. We're going to do that again. Yarn over, go into the magic circle, yarn over and pull through, have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over for a final time, pull through the remaining 2. So that's how we're doing our double crochet. Close that up, and I'm just going to double check I've got 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay. I'm going to set my first beret aside now, and I'm going to bring in my red yarn and my 8mm hook. With the first one, we did 12 double crochet to begin with. With this second one, I'm only going to begin with 8 double crochet. So I'm still making a magic circle. I'm really not used to using chunky yarn and bigger hooks. I'm used to my small 3.5mm hook. Come on, there we go. And then in the magic circle, we're going to do 8 double crochet. Okay, there's my 8 double crochet for that. Now, depending on what yarn you're using, some chunky yarns don't do all that well using the magic circle. If you're having trouble with that, begin by chaining 2, and then in the second chain from the hook, which is the first chain that we made, put your beginning round, so either your 12 double crochet, your 8 double crochet in that first chain. So if your magic circle is not working for you, that's another option. Now that we've done round 1 of each of our berets, all we're going to do is keep increasing out until we've reached the size that we want. Now, the size that we want can differ from person to person. We took that head circumference measurement originally, and what I like to do is increase outwards until the circumference of my beret, or the top of my beret, which is what we're making, is about 20 to 30 centimeters larger than my head circumference measurement. My head circumference measurement was 52 centimeters. I'm going to increase out until the circumference of these circles are somewhere between about 72 and I'd say 82 centimeters. I'm not too particular on the exact sizing, but what you can do if you don't want to measure is just increasing outwards, and then when your circle starts to get a bit larger, place the circle up to your head and just eyeball it. If you think your circle looks like a good size on your head, you're happy with that circumference, just stop at that point. As long as it is large enough that you can then decrease down to fit your head, it's okay. So you can really make it as big as you want. You can make it a huge size, but we just need to be able to decrease back down to fit the beret around our head at the end. With that said, we're going to continue our increasing now. The next round of each piece, which is round 2, we're going to put a double crochet increase in each stitch. So for the first beret, the white one, because we finished with 12 double crochet, or started or finished with 12 double crochet, we're going to have to do 12 double crochet increases for round 2. And again, that is putting 2 double crochet. So I'll start by doing 1 in the first stitch. If I can get my hook into it. There we go. First double crochet, and then a second double crochet in that same stitch. And I'm just going to pop my stitch marker in case I lose count. And we're going to do that all the way around, 2 double crochet in each stitch. So that's round 2 of the first beret done. The second beret, because we only started / finished with 8 double crochet, we're going to do 8 double crochet increases. And once more, that is just 2 double crochet in each stitch from round 1. From here, we're just going to continue our increasing. For the white beret, we're going to increase by 12 every round because we started with the 12 double crochet. For our red beret, we're going to be increasing by 8 every round because again, we started with the 8 double crochet. Round 3 of our white beret is therefore going to be 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet increase, repeated 12 times. I've done my first double crochet. In the next stitch, I'm going to do a double crochet increase, which is 2 double crochet in the same stitch. And I'm going to repeat that all the way around my round. So in the next stitch, 1 double crochet. In the next stitch, a double crochet increase. For the red beret, we're doing something similar, but we're only repeating it 8 times. We're going to do 1 double crochet in the first stitch, our double crochet increase in the next stitch, and then we're going to repeat that 7 more times, or 8 in total for the entire round. From round 4 onwards, what you can do if you would like is stagger your increases so they're not all stacked on top of each other. Using this method will prevent your circle from turning into a sort of hexagon shape rather than a perfect circle. However, I don't really mind the hexagon shape in my berets. I think it looks kind of cool. If you're not really sure what I'm talking about at the moment, what I'll do is I'll put a link to a video I made a few weeks ago. It's sort of the start of my Designing Amigurumi for Complete Beginners series, but it goes through the process of creating a flat circle versus creating a hexagon. And while I do use single crochet in the example there, it also applies to double crochet in the round. So what I'm going to be doing is continuing on as normal. But again, if you would like to stack your rounds, you can do that. We're going to continue with round number 4, and for round number 4 of my white beanie, we're going to be doing 2 double crochet, then 1 double crochet increase in the next stitch, and we're going to do that all the way around for 12 times. Round 4 of the red beret is also 2 double crochet, 1 double crochet increase, but this time we're only repeating it 8 times. For round 5, we're going to be doing 3 double crochet, 1 double crochet increase, and in the white beret we're going to repeat this 12 times, and in the red beret we're going to repeat this 8 times. Round 6 is 4 double crochet, 1 double crochet increase, repeated 12 times in the white and repeated 8 times in the red. On to round number, what are we on? Round number 7. Round number 7 for each piece is going to be 5 double crochet, 1 double crochet increase, and again we're going to repeat that 12 times for the white beret and 8 times for the red beret. On to round number 8. Round number 8 is going to be 6 double crochet, 1 double crochet increase, and we're going to be doing that 12 times for the white beanie and 8 times for the red beret, not beanie. With round 8 complete, I am now finished with my red beret. That's wide enough for me. If you would like to check that this size fits you as well, you've got a couple of options. You can either A, just hold it up to your head and see that it's larger than that original head circumference measurement we took. If you think it needs to be a little bit wider, you can add an additional round or 2. If you think it's a little bit too big, you can take out a round. If you don't want to just eyeball it, you can measure it. The first way to do that is obviously just to get a tape measure and go all the way around and measure it. And like I said before, I tend to go about 20 to 30 centimeters larger than my head circumference measurement, but this can be adjusted to your preferences. If you have a little bit of trouble measuring around with your tape measure, what you can do in that case is grab a little bit of scrap yarn, just run your scrap yarn around the edge as it's laying flat. So you're going to run it all the way around here. Then take that bit of scrap yarn and measure that length. That will give you the circumference measurement. So you need to figure out if this is an okay size for you, whether you want to make it smaller or larger. And once it's done, we will go on to the next step. But before we actually do that in this video, I'm going to finish off my white beret because that needs a couple of additional rounds to make it a little bit larger. So I'm setting my red one aside for now. And then I'm going to continue with round 9 of my white beret, and round 9 is going to be 7 double crochet, 1 double crochet increase, repeated 12 times. And again, if you need to do an additional round or you want to do an additional round on your red beret, that's going to be the same thing, 7 double crochet, 1 double crochet increase. And then I'm just going to do one more round of increasing for my white beret. So we're going to do 8 double crochet, 1 double crochet increase, repeated 12 times for round 10. Alrighty, I'm done with increasing for my white beret. What you can do at this point, if you were following this tutorial, is do the same checks that I mentioned at the end of the red beret. So make sure it's the right size by putting it up to your head or measuring it. When your increases are the right size for you, what we're then going to do is add a couple of rounds of just double crochet, no increasing. For both of these beanies, I'm going to do 2 rounds of double crochet. However, again, this can be adjusted to your preferences. So if you'd like your beanie to be a little bit taller, you can add some rounds of double crochet. If you would like to keep it nice and flat, you can just do 1 round of double crochet. And also if you're using a different stitch, so for example, if you're using a half double crochet or even a single crochet, you can do more rounds with those. So for the white beanie, it is going to be rounds 11 and 12 that are our double crochet rounds. We finished off here with 120 stitches. So both rounds 11 and 12 are each going to be 120 double crochet each. For the red beret, however, we finished off with 64 stitches in the round. So both rounds 9 and 10 are each going to be 64 double crochet. I'll start off with the white one and just begin double crocheting around in a circle. Now that we've done our rounds of just double crochet, we're going to begin our decrease rounds. We need to decrease on our beret down to approximately the size of our head circumference measurement. It doesn't matter if the size you do decrease down to is slightly larger, because we're going to add some ribbing, and when we add the ribbing, that tightens up the circle that we've got left anyway. So what we're going to do is start off with the white beret, and we're going to begin by doing 3 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 2 together, 24 times. So I'm not decreasing 12 times, I'm sort of doubling my decreases, doing twice more decreases than I did increases, at least for the first couple of rounds. So start off with your 3 double crochet. And after that 3rd double crochet, we're going to double crochet 2 together. To do that, you're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through. So at this point you should have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, and now you should have 2 loops on your hook. However, at this point, instead of finishing the stitch, you're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, then yarn over and pull through, and now we should have 4 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, now you should have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And that's how we're going to double crochet 2 together. After that double crochet 3 together, we're going to do another 3 double crochet. And then we're going to double crochet 2 together again. So we're going to start off by yarning over, going into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, so you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops only, and at this point you should have 2 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over again, go into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, and now there should be 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2, and now we should have 3 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. You're going to continue doing 3 double crochet, and the reason I'm decreasing for those 24 times instead of the 12 that we increased with is because I want my decrease rounds to be less than my increase rounds. If there's more decrease rounds, that's going to make my hat a little bit taller, and I don't want it to be too tall. If you don't mind your hat being too tall, you can decrease by 12 every round. That's also an option, but again, I just like the way the shorter hat looks. It's not as tall on my head. After the first decrease round of the white beret, we're going to do the first decrease round of the red one. This time we are going to be decreasing by the same amount as we increased as, and that's going to be 8 times. And the reason I'm doing that differently here is because for this red beret, I'm only going to decrease for 2 rounds. We're going to start off with 6 double crochet. And then after that 6 double crochet, we're going to double crochet 2 together. Just to repeat how to do that, we're going to yarn over first, go into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, so you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over again, pull through the first 2 loops, and this time you should have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over once more, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. This should leave you with 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, and now we'll have 3 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. You're going to repeat 6 double crochet 2 together all the way around, or 8 times in total. Round 14 of the white beret is 2 double crochet, 1 double crochet 2 together, repeated 24 times. Round 12 is the final round of the red beret, and we're going to do 5 double crochet, 1 double crochet 2 together, and we're going to repeat that 8 times. I'm at the point where I need to do my last double crochet 2 together for the round, but I'm not going to do that yet, because in the next part where we add the ribbing, I'm going to be changing color. Now you don't have to change color. If you don't, you can finish that double crochet 2 together, but if you do want to change color, we'll need to do that while crocheting the double crochet 2 together stitch. So I'm going to set that aside for now, and then I'm going to do my last decrease round of the white beret. And this time, when I originally did my prototype for this, I decreased down by 24 2 times, but then to get the measurement I wanted, the last round, I only decreased by 6. So what we're going to do this time in this pattern is do 10 double crochet, 1 double crochet 2 together, and repeat that 6 times. What you can do, and this goes for the red beret as well, what you can do is measure this circumference here, and you can do that in the same way that we measured the top previously, just to see how big it is, and then that way you can estimate how much you need to decrease down by. Again, we want this final measurement to be roughly the same as your head circumference measurement, or just a little bit bigger. That doesn't matter too much because we're going to be adding the ribbing, which will tighten that up anyway. So for me, to get me to that point, I needed to do 10 double crochet, 1 double crochet 2 together 6 times. You may need to do another 24 double crochet decrease. You may need to decrease 12 times. It's just something you're going to have to figure out for yourself by doing some measuring. Or as I said at the start, if your head circumference is very similar or the same to mine, you can just follow along with what I'm doing. Okay, I've almost finished the final decrease round for my white beret, but like I did with the red one, I've left the last 2 stitches where I'll need to put a double crochet 2 together. I've left those unworked because I'm going to be changing color for the ribbing in this as well. But I'm going to show you how to do that on the red one because I've chosen to use black for the ribbing on this one, and black can be very hard to see, so I don't think it's much use to demonstrate with that, so I'll set this aside for now and I'll bring my red one back in. I think I mentioned earlier that if you were not changing color, if you're just going to continue in whatever color you're using, that you don't have to worry about this step, so you can just go ahead and ignore this part. But what we're going to do is do our next double crochet 2 together, but also have whatever color that you want to change to on hand to do the ribbing. I've chosen this cream yarn, which I have no idea what it is. It's just some scrap I had and it had no label on it. So what we're going to be doing before we even start crocheting is dropping down 1 hook size to crochet both of our pieces. So for the red one, so far I've been using an 8mm hook. For the ribbing, I'm going to swap to no, not a 6.5, I grabbed the wrong hook. I'm going to swap over to my 7mm hook. And for the white beret, I've been using the 5mm hook. So to crochet the ribbing for that, I'm going to drop down to a 4. We're going to start off with the hook size that we've been using previously. So for me, that's my 8mm hook. We're going to begin the double crochet 2 together, yarn over, go into your stitch, yarn over and pull through, 1, 2, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2. We're going to yarn over again, go into the last stitch, yarn over, pull through. You're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. And at this point you should have 3 loops on your hook. Normally to finish the double crochet 2 together, at this point we would yarn over for a final time and pull through all 3 of those loops. Because we're changing color, what we're instead going to do is put our hook down with the 3 loops on it, bring in our color that we're going to be changing to, and you're going to line the end of that color up with the head of your hook. Yarn over with the new color, and then pull through all 3 loops on your hook. So we've changed color. Well, I've changed color to this cream, and you may have changed color to whatever color that you're going to use for the ribbing. At this point, you're going to take out the larger hook size. So I'm going to set my 8mm hook aside and bring in the smaller hook size that you're going to crochet the ribbing with. Now for the ribbing, we're going to be using single crochet. I'm also going to be working over these 2 ends for the next few stitches just to secure them. But if you would prefer, you can weave those in with a needle. And where have I put my scissors? Found them, they were right behind me. Okay, the first stitch that we're going to do is into the next free stitch, and we're just going to single crochet. Once more, I'm working over these 2 ends. So 1 single crochet. After that single crochet, you're going to begin chaining. The amount of chains that you do is going to determine how tall your ribbing will be. For me, I'm going to do 4 chains. 2, 3, and 4. So my ribbing is going to be 3 stitches tall. 1, 2, 3. But again, how many you chain is going to be determined by how big you want your ribbing to be, or how tall you want your ribbing to be, as well as the yarn weight and hook size that you're using. Just begin chaining and stop at whatever point that you want to. Once you've reached that point, we're going to start single crocheting into the second chain from the hook. Now because I chained 4, I'm going to be single crocheting 3 back down the chain. 1, 2, and 3. Now that I've reached the bottom of my chain, I'm going to work across the beret, not the beanie, the beret once more. I'm going to do 2 slip stitches. In the next free stitch, I'm going to do 1 slip stitch, and into the next stitch, I'm going to do another. From here, I'm going to turn my beret slightly because I'm going to work back up the chain, and I'm going to be working in the back loop only. The entire piece of ribbing is crocheted in the back loop. So I'm going to skip the 2 slip stitches that I did, this one here and this one here, and I'm going to work back into that last single crochet I did when I single crocheted down my chain. And again, we're working in the back loop only. Go into the back loop, single, hang on, I need to keep the yarn on my hook. Let's just do that again. Single crochet, then up 1 stitch, into the back loop and single crochet, and then the last single crochet into the back loop, single crochet. When I've reached the end, I'm going to chain one and turn my work again. Once more, working into the back loops only, I'm going to single crochet 3 back down, 1, 2, and 3. Now that we've reached the bottom again, we're going to slip stitch in the next 2 stitches. So we're going into the next free stitch, slip stitch, the stitch after that, and slip stitch. Turn your work, skip the 2 slip stitches, and we're going to go and we're going to work 3 single crochet in the back loop only. 1, 2, oops, there we go, 2 and 3, chain 1, and then turn your work. Again, in the back loop only, we're going to do 3 single crochet back down, 1, into the back loop, 2, and into the back loop for 3. And then we're just going to continue to repeat this all the way around. So we're going to single crochet, no, we're going to slip stitch twice into the next 2 stitches. We're going to turn our work, skip the slip stitches, and into the back loop only, do 3 single crochet. 1, 2, 3. Chain 1 and turn your work. And again, we're going to continue this all the way around. When you get to the end here, depending on how many stitches you had in your final round, you may find that you might not be able to finish off your ribbing pattern. So you may not finish on exactly 2 slip stitches. Don't worry about that. Just finish at whatever point you finish. And when we get there, I will show you how to deal with that. So whatever point you end up at, that's the point you end up at, and I will explain how we get to the point where we can sew those 2 sides together. I've just worked back up my ribbing here, and at this point, when I need to chain 1 and turn my work and start crocheting back down, let me put my hook back in. There we go. When I reach the bottom, I'm only going to have 1 stitch left to slip stitch into instead of the 2. At this stage, before I start doing any of that crocheting back down, I have a couple of options. I can try on my hat, and if this ribbing that I have made already is perfectly fine, it fits my head well, what I will do, instead of crocheting back down and then slip stitching and then crocheting back up a final time, I will cut my yarn here and sew these 2 sides together. But if you try on your hat and you think, I would like that to be just slightly tighter, a little bit smaller, you're going to crochet back down 1, 2, it did not go well, 2, and 3. Then you're only going to slip stitch once because we only have 1 stitch left to work into. Turn your work and go back up the other side. And it's at this point that what you're going to do is just cut a tail that you can use for sewing and pull up with your hook. I'm not going to sew this together just yet because what I'm going to do is crochet the ribbing on my second beanie first, and then I'll sew both of them together at the same time. So I'm going to set that here for now. And for this beanie, future editing me here, unfortunately the audio files for the ribbing on the white beret got corrupted. but the technique that we are using remains the same. So you're going to do the exact same thing we did in the red beret for the white beret in terms of changing color, dropping down a hook size, chaining, and then crocheting your ribbing. All of that remains the same. For this white beret, I'm using black yarn to create my ribbing, and the brand I'm using is the same brand that I used to create the beret itself, only in black rather than white. I'm dropping down to a 4mm hook, and I'm starting by chaining 5 rather than the 4 I did in the red beret. And this means I'll be working 4 single crochet up and down in the back loops rather than the 3 that I did in the red beret. So if you're having any trouble with that, I will put a timestamp for the ribbing down in the description, so you can just go down to that and rewatch the ribbing for the red beret. As I just said, it all remains the same. We're just changing up our hook size and the original number of chains that we start with. Okay, let's get back to the rest of the video. I've got 2 remaining stitches, so I'm just going to do one last round of 2 slip stitches and then single crochet up the other side. And then I'm just going to leave a tail for sewing. And what you'll want to do at this point is grab a needle. Might start off with the red beret. And you're just going to thread your tail end that you've left through your needle. And then sew these 2 sides together. When that's done, you're going to weave your ends in through the backs of your stitches to secure your end. When that part's done, I'm just going to sew in these 2 ends from where I changed colour, because in the end I forgot to work over them to secure them. Now that the first one's done, I'm just going to close up the ribbing of my second beret. When the ribbing is all sewn together, we can begin customizing our berets, and how you want to approach this is going to be entirely dependent on the look you want for your beret. What I'm going to do with this red one here is just, where are they? Crochet some white spots in my white yarn that I used to make the second beret, and I'm just going to sew those on to make a sort of mushroom inspired beret. So that's what I'm going to do for this one. For the white one, I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with that just yet, but I do have a couple of ideas. But I'm going to focus on this one for now. So all I've done to create these circles is start off with 6 single crochet in a magic circle, and then continue to increase by 6 for every round. So this one here, the small one, is 6 single crochet, and then I did 6 increases to give me 12 single crochet in total. The medium sized one is just 3 rounds, so that's 6 single crochet in a magic circle, then 6 increases, and the third round would be 1 single crochet, 1 increase repeated 6 times. And then finally, the largest circle is 4 rounds. So you're going to follow the pattern for the medium spot, but then add an additional round, which is 2 single crochet, 1 increase repeated 6 times. And that will give you 24 stitches. If you want to make a mushroom beret, you don't have to follow this pattern. You can do some different size spots if you want to, but they're just the sizes I'm going to be sticking with. So I'm going to make a few more of each size. When you've finished crocheting your spots, well, spots if you're doing a toadstool like me, but if you want to crochet any other embellishments in other shapes, you can do that too. But after you finish crocheting, we are going to sew those down. Now, I'm not sure yet whether I'm going to add some more spots. I don't want it to be too crowded, but I think I might need a couple more smaller ones. But I'm going to sew these on first, see how that looks, and then I may add some additional spots at the end. At this point, I've sewn on all the spots that I had. I'm probably going to make a few more smaller ones. It just seems like there's a couple of spots here that could do with an extra spot, so I'm going to fill those in later on. What I'm going to do now is crochet the decorative piece for my white beret. I do have an idea of what I'm going to do, but I'm going to go off and crochet that now, and then I'll bring you guys back and show you my idea. What I'll also do at that time is go over other customization options and show you how I customize my Pokemon beanies. But for now, I'm just going to go off and crochet my pieces for this beret. And the design I decided on for my white beret was a butterfly. How I created this was, first I crocheted 2 wing pieces, this piece here and this piece here. Then I crocheted a separate body piece in the middle, and I also crocheted a couple of spots to decorate the wings. After I'd sewn those on, I used my black yarn and a felting needle to do the wing designs here. So crocheting separate pieces, sewing and also needle felting are a couple of ideas for customization. I used the same method to crochet my Pikachu beanie. In this case, I just crocheted a few circles, some black for the eyes, white for the pupils, and red for the cheeks. Just a circle, so I started with 6 single crochet in a magic circle and just increased out from there. And then after that was finished, I sewed them on, and then I just needle felted on the details. So this method can be pretty versatile. You can come up with lots of different designs that way. Here is a lemon one I made, which is pretty simple, but this one I started the customization process as I was crocheting the beanie. So I used color changes in the beanie itself. I did the center in white, the first round in white, and then the second last increase round in white, and then I just needle felted on the little segments later on. For Gengar, I did something similar to what I did with the Pikachu. I just crocheted the pieces, sewed them on, and then needle felted on all the details. To create this shape, all you need to do is crochet a round circle. Then when you get to the final round, fold that in half and single crochet the edges together, and that will give you a nice half circle. And I'm not actually super happy with the way the mouth turned out on this one. I actually crocheted the mouth in rows. If I made another Gengar beret, what I would do is use the same method to create the mouth as I did for the eyes. So I crochet a circle, fold that in half, and then sew that on. I don't really like how this shape turned out. And the next one is just the spots, which you saw me make in the video. That's pretty basic. You just crochet, sew them on. And then the final customization option that you can go with is to actually get some felt or another piece of fabric, preferably something that doesn't fray. That would be a lot easier to work with. And then you're just going to cut it out into whatever shape you desire and then hand sew that on. So I've just sewn this on with a little bit of cotton, and then I needle felted on some eye and mouth details for my Snorlax. And that is all I've created so far. I might make some more in the future once I come up with some more design ideas. But I hope you have fun customizing your own beret. If you do make a neat design, please share it with me over on Instagram or TikTok, wherever you happen to be, because I'd love to see it. And that is all for this video. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will be back next week with another video.